Hello, and welcome to our third episode of Mindful Techie Tuesdays. Miko, good afternoon. How are you today?
I'm great, and thank you for hosting us again, Carlos. How are you doing?
Doing well, thank you. Excited for today's conversation. We will be chatting about digital wellness in the month of May. We have a special guest that will join us here in a little bit. But can you share a little bit about what we should look forward to?
So we're gonna continue to dive deeper into this conversation about digital wellness, particularly in what we're experiencing today, with more of us working from home, our overall our screen time increasing, and also addressing some of the challenges that we're experiencing with that in terms of the impact on our mental health and our physical well-being. So I'm excited that we're going to be able to dive deeper into that, give people some tools and strategies that they can use to address those issues, and just to really raise people's awareness about this particular topic.
That's super exciting. I mean, I think my hope and takeaway, desired takeaway from this conversation is to be able to look at the tools and advice that both you and our guest have for us and see, right, like how we can not just benefit or leverage it here for this month of May, but look at how we can do it for the rest of 2020.
Yes.
I'm going to hand it off to you here really quick and bring in our guest so that you can give some introduction.
Awesome. And welcome. So we want to welcome the incomparable Ananda Leeke, and I'll let her say a little bit more about who she is and why she's here today. But we are in for a treat. I know Ananda personally and professionally, and I'm excited that we get to have this conversation and that she gets to share a little bit of her wisdom with our audience. And so our topic today is Digital Wellness Month. So for those who did not know, May is Digital Wellness Month, and Ananda is here to talk with us about what that is, what it means, and how we can actually use that to have a healthier relationship with our technology, with all things digital in this era of increased screen time and working from home, working remotely, being tethered to our devices as we do our work, as we sustain our relationships. So, with that being said, as we dive in here, Ananda, I want to start by first of all welcoming you to this conversation and just ask you, how are you doing? What's going on with you right now?
Well, first of all, thank you, Miko, and thank you, Carlos, for bringing me on to the Mindful Techie Tuesday show on LinkedIn. And hello to the audience. Hello, 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 hello. I am doing rather well. I have to say that I had to reset myself after the last couple of days because I was, one, spending a lot of time online and I needed to reset with just some time outside. So I had that opportunity this morning in Malcolm X Meridian Hill Park. And it is Malcolm X's birthday as well as my dad's birthday. So being able to be in that park and just listen to the sound of the trees and nature and traffic and people was a breath of fresh air for me. Yes, I'm well.
Well, awesome. Well, we are happy to hear that. We're excited that you're able to join us today virtually in our new studio. Thank you, Carlos, for setting things up. We have a nice studio, so we thank Carlos for getting us all set up here, making us look official. So, tell us a little bit, Ananda, about who you are and what you do.
Well, I'm Michigan born and I'm Maryland raised, and I am a former attorney and investment banker. And those two career paths, in addition to digital communications professional, really got me to who I am today. And it was the stress and the burnout, the panic attacks, and feeling overwhelmed that led me into mindful self care. I watched how it transformed my life. Eventually, I became certified in a number of different areas: yoga, Reiki, meditation, sound healing. And now am working as the chief mindfulness officer of Ananda Leeke Consulting, which is a wellness company that focuses on personal and professional development in three core areas: mindfulness, self care, and wellness. And underneath Ananda Leeke Consulting is my new baby, the Thriving Mindfully Academy, which was launched in response to what we're all experiencing now with COVID 19. I won't say all, what many of us are experiencing, the stress, the imbalance when it comes to tech life and work life, the panic, the pressure, you name it, all of that, and then using the practices of mindfulness, self care, and wellness to help support ourselves during this process with small steps. And it's an online education platform that provides professional education and training and resources to help folks just like us navigate what we're experiencing now and for life as we move forward.
Well, awesome. So I'm a big fan of your work and the work that you're doing, and I know that you're well versed in a number of different healing and self care modalities, and we're going to dive into a little bit of that today. I want to start us off by talking about the topic at hand. So we mentioned at the top of the conversation that we're going to be talking today about digital wellness, as this is Digital Wellness Month. So let's start by you level setting with us and letting us know a little bit, what is digital wellness and why is it important? Tell us a little bit about that.
So, before we even get into what is digital wellness, I want to talk about what is wellness. That's a popular topic that we hear. It's on the news, it's in our conversations, it's in social media. And for us at the Thriving Mindfully Academy, we look at wellness as becoming aware of and making choices that support our well being. And it's really a marriage between mindfulness, that becoming aware of, that birthright that we've been given, the ability to be aware of what's happening in the present moment, and then that making that healthy choice that supports the well being is coming from self care, that act of nurturing your spirit, your heart, your mind, your body, your breath, your life in ways that uplift you. And so we really do try to emphasize that folks already have the components of wellness embedded in their DNA. They got it when they were born. They are birthrights. That is mindfulness and self care. The thing is that, and I include myself, is that each day we're given an opportunity to choose whether we use those gifts so that we can become aware of and make healthy choices that support our well being. Now, digital wellness is the use of technology in mindful, intentional, and healthy ways. I
Awesome.
hope
So
that.
yeah, so thank you for sharing that. And I think you touched on a couple of things that are really important as it concerns this conversation about wellness and mindfulness, which is that, and you and I have had conversations about this, which is that we're born, in innately in terms of who we are as part of the human experience. We're born whole and well, and then we
Mhm.
come into the world and we're socialized into a different experience, and so we spend our lifetime trying to get back to that wholeness, trying to get back to that sense of well-being. So let's dive a little bit deeper into this. So why are we dedicating a whole month to talking about this topic? Like, why is this important, and why is it important right now?
It's important right now because I have spent the last couple of weeks really working with clients, colleagues, collaborative partners, and family and friends, helping and listening and even growing and getting support myself
Yes.
in the area of how do you manage this new normal, this new experience? How do you manage it? And how are you releasing the discomfort, the stress, the pressure to respond in your employment if you're working online or if you're having to go out? All of these issues that have been coming up and then some. And how do
Mhm.
you even sit with it? Because you don't always have this opportunity to just release it. Some stuff is tied to things that we brought into COVID-19. You know what I mean? Like it
Yes.
just is, COVID-19 has just heightened it and made you
Yes.
aware of, ooh, that's an issue. And do you
Yes.
even want to look at it right now? That's a choice as well.
I think you raised such an excellent point. I think that for many folks out there, obviously there are challenges that are new for folks, but there are also challenges that have been pre-existing, that have been amplified by what's happening right now in the world. And I think we do ourselves a disservice if we're using that as an excuse not to really peel off the layers and go deeper and to find out what we can do to get back to a sense of well-being. So, with that being said, You've been doing this for a while, and so I know that when we talk about mindfulness and we talk about self care and we talk about wellness, particularly in the context of the digital space, it might be new for many people, but you have been doing this work since before it became fashionable, since before the ways in which we were connected by the internet and our devices was as pervasive as it is now. So, can you take us a step back and maybe contextualize this in the context of your book that you've written about this, and tell us as you start, when did you start your journey when it comes to this digital wellness and the digital sisterhood, and when did you publish that book? Because it's you've been doing this for a while now.
Yeah, Miko, it has been a minute. I will tell you this, that the first time that I had an opportunity to experience an online information explosion, because that's what
Mm.
brought me into this space, was in
Yes.
1986 when I was a first year law student at Howard University School of Law. I left college saying, all I need is my electric typewriter. And I know folks might laugh, but that's what I actually thought. Even having a roommate who was a computer science major who told me every morning, you're going to need a computer. And I was like, no, I'm not. I found this service, LexisNexis, in my first week of law school because we had to learn how to use it. And I had to learn how to use the computer. And when I logged on and I saw how much access I had to information, not only just the case law, but news services, because I was a news junkie at the time,
Yes.
my whole world changed. It really, really shifted and changed. And then I was fortunate enough to have this opportunity to go to the UN Fourth World Conference on Women in China, in Beijing, China, in 1995. And while I was there, I saw all these women in the internet cafe. I had never seen anything like it. And they were exchanging emails. And my mother kept sending me that AOL package, but I kept putting it off to the side. I had folks in my life telling me I needed to get a home computer. And I was like, and I don't need all of that. Um, I can just go to the library and get my information. And I was going to Georgetown University Law Center Library at the time. And when I saw how powerful that was, I started getting people's emails. And as soon as I got home, I signed up for AOL, and that shifted my entire life. A couple months later, the universe conspired and put me into an investment banking firm that was way ahead of its time. And we relied on technology and remote working, what many of us are doing now, to manage our transactions and all of our subsidiary work.
Now,
After
what year was this that you
that
were
was
doing this?
1996. That was like
Yes.
10 years after I first jumped online. And so at Hamilton Securities Group, it was a woman owned investment banking firm that was also a financial software firm. And we had a data servicing site in a public housing project, and it was a part of our subsidiary. And I had the golden opportunity to create my position as a knowledge manager. And that really was my entry into digital communications. And after that, I have continued. And so, fast forward into um, the early 2000s, when I was wrapping up the publication of my first book, Love's Troubadours, which is a yoga inspired novel. It was 2005, 2006. MySpace was the only thing that was on the block besides having your own website. And that was all I knew at the time. And I was looking for ways to connect with folks in London and artists and other independent music folks that I could feature in my book. And I reached out, was able to meet folks, actually ended up going to London, connecting with folks that are now dear friends and family to me, and it was all through MySpace. And so when it came time to market the book, I self published it. I didn't have a budget, not a single cent. And the thing that came to mind was to use MySpace and the other tools that were emerging at the time, including podcasts. And then, as soon as Twitter arrived, I arrived. I also had a blog on Blogspot. And after using these tools, I realized I need to really find out how all of this works. And I'm a lifelong learner and I'm a junkie for education and conferences. So I signed up for Blogging While Brown, and it was the first conference in 2008. I'll never forget it. And the people that organized that conference were mainly African American women. And from there, in those relationships, I met folks in the DC area. And it was in 2009, I was hanging around a lot of women in tech, a lot of women that were doing community work with technology, and it shifted my experience. I started to realize how powerful women were, and that's where digital sisterhood came into play. And here's a copy of the book, Digital Sisterhood. It's a memoir of fierce living online, and really what that's about is celebrating my digital life and career from 1986 all the way up to 2013, and the power and presence that women have had in my experiences, from my own mother who insisted that I sign up for AOL, and then 15, 20 years later, she demanded that I join Facebook in 2008 to market my book because I was missing my audience. And she was like, MySpace is not MySpace, Facebook is it. She's always been ahead of her time. Um, to different people that really just opened up their portfolio of skills and experiences to help move me along. And all of that experience led me into this place called the White House when President Barack Obama was in office. And I had an opportunity to go and see what was happening inside and as well as outside in the way people were using technology in their citizenship. And so Digital Sisterhood, the book, was born out of Digital Sisterhood Network. And that was a initiative that I created in 2010 and managed to 2015. And what it was all about was celebrating diverse women in digital communications and technology. And that was anyone who was using social media, to folks who are creating the technology, to people who are in PR that are using technology, to the moms, to the grandmothers, to the teens, any aspect of it. We celebrated Digital Sisterhood Month in December, and we had Digital Sisters of the Year, where we had 7 different categories of women, from folks who were leaders to artists to folks who created the technology. You name it, we had it. And what an experience. What an experience, because it paved the way. All of that online time led me back to one of the organizations that I cherished in my law school days, Law Students in Court, which is now Rising for Justice. In 2015, I had an opportunity to build the first social media program for Law Students in Court with the support of Moses Cook, the executive director. And that's where I really took everything that I learned and I put it to work. Prior to that, I had worked for a nonprofit refugee services organization. And in 2007, we were at risk of losing our funding. And part of the grants that I managed required that we do community outreach. So I created a social media technical assistance training program that was funded for 8 years. And we were able to get iPads, all kind of technology, all kind of training for these different organizations that really, if they hadn't had that funding, they probably wouldn't have the technology and the tools to do even more than community outreach, because they could do processing of applications, they could take it to folks' homes and help them, they could use it as translators, all of those things. So for me, my life has been really enriched by technology and the connections that I've had with all people, but more importantly with women. Women have played a huge role in my life, and I hope that gives the audience just a little bit about um, my footprint, if you will,
Yes.
my digital footprint.
Yeah, so it's a very rich and deep footprint, and I want to just dive a little bit deeper into the journey as documented in your memoir, Digital Sisterhood. So, um, in it, you on this topic of digital wellness, you outline some ways in which we can actually tackle this topic, and there's a plan that you include as part of the memoir. So, uh, in terms of making this practical,
Yes.
what and connecting it to the challenges people are dealing with today, what can you share from your memoir that people can apply right away?
Well, the thing that I would say first is that using technology in a mindful, intentional, and healthy way to me sparks what you're all about, which is intention. So it's starting with your intention of
Yes,
how you want to show up online. How do you want to feel from your body? Because your body is a part of that.
yes,
It starts with the intention before you even get the plan. So, what is your intention? And that intention can shift from day to day. So,
yes,
having a daily intention and really starting your day in a way that doesn't involve you going straight to your phone, that you have a pause, you have a mindful moment so that you can set that intention. And I always recommend, one of my tips is take 1 to 3 breaths. Make your breath your BFF before you do anything. And then you can go and look at your phone. But have a mindful moment, set an intention for your day, include how you want to use your time online, and let that guide you through your day. Now, the plan is really looking at a couple of things. First of all, it's reflecting on how are you using technology? And you have some tools with Mindful Techie that have helped me over the years uncover some of my blind spots and some of the areas that I'm still currently working on. My addiction to Instagram and YouTube and staying up a lot later than what I planned on a lot of days, y'all. That's something I struggle with. So it's really looking at how are you currently using the tools? How much time are you spending? It's using an assessment, asking yourself and being really honest. How does your
yes,
body feel? I know for myself, having this opportunity to be in my own home more than normal post pre COVID-19 has gotten me to set up standing desk in my home. It's like makeshift standing desk so that I'm not sitting all the time, because when I sit a lot, my tight hips get tighter. And even though I'm a yoga teacher and I have the yoga mat here laid out, it's no good. And one way to prevent that is to be mindful of how I'm spending time online. Am I sitting? Am I leaning over? So it's checking in with yourself, with your body. Then
So
it's,
just to maybe
yeah,
go back a little bit. So it starts with the intention, right? So getting
right.
clear about how
Hmm.
you want to show up in the digital space. And
Hmm.
then the second is doing an assessment of how you're actually using the technology, like how is it how you're connected, or like what's the assessment about?
The assessment is too, it's it's how you are using it and how does your body feel?
Okay.
Like how much time are you spending and how does your body feel when you're using it?
Okay. So intention assessment. All right. So we got two things. What's next?
So the next thing, thank you summarizing, Keith. The third is, what would you like your experience to be? What do you want to feel in your body? What do you want to experience when you're online?
Yes.
Those are some questions that you want to ask yourself, because that really does help you figure out what your plan is.
Yes.
You may want to feel that when you get emails that you don't have to answer them immediately,
Yes.
or text. You may want to have some time boundaries, and we've talked about this offline. and how important it is to set those boundaries so that you don't feel like what I'm hearing from many clients and colleagues and family and friends is that they are pressured to feel like they have to be on all the time.
Yes.
And where is the cutoff? Where do you make the distinction now between working and being at home? Because folks feel like they can reach you at all points in time as opposed to setting up some boundaries with yourself and then with them, explaining those boundaries.
So on that point, so you mentioned one of the challenges that you're seeing with clients that you're working with. Tell us a little bit about is there anything else that you're seeing in terms of challenges that are popping up, particularly given the current environment? So you mentioned folks feeling like they have to be connected 24/7. Is there anything else you're seeing in terms of a trend with folks you're working with?
Most definitely. In the Mindful Monday meditation and sound bath classes that I've been leading since April, what I see most is a lot of folks are struggling with stress and pain in their neck and their shoulders and their back.
So
Right.
from the sitting and from the stress of carrying the
Exactly.
yeah the
Exactly.
interactions and the
Exactly.
emails and so on. Yeah.
Right. And also the eyes are tired. People have, they're spending too much time with the screens. That's
Yes.
another issue. And then the other issue that folks are feeling is that they're zoomed the freak out. You know,
Yes.
how many more Zoom calls can you have? I mean, we love
Yes.
our family, we meetings are important, but trying to figure out what's the distinction between when do I need to use Zoom at work? Because there are
Yes.
some things that only require an email, some things that could be done on the phone, some things could be done through a video conference, but how long is a video conference really necessary? Do you really need an hour?
Yes. And I think you hit on something too in terms of the intention piece, right? Which is so understanding what do you need to, what do you what's the outcome you're trying to get to,
Hmm.
and then figuring out the technology piece if you need that, right? And not jumping to the technology right and saying, oh, let's hop on a Zoom call and figure it out. It's like, no, let's figure out the intention first.
Mm.
And then we can figure out if we need to get on a Zoom call. That's number one. And then number two, we've forgotten the basics of just picking up the phone, right? So there's lots of value in being able to see one another, right? And there's lots of things that we can get from that, and that's appropriate for certain contexts. But
Mm.
one of the things that we know, you mentioned being zoomed out, literally and figuratively, right? That we are in a space where we understand now that um, being on, right, on camera and being connected in that way is that's a lot more taxing than simply talking to someone and speaking and sharing your audio, right? Um, and we actually know that in certain contexts, folks actually are more present if they are forced to simply listen to your voice and they don't have any other cues to go off of.
Mm.
And so, depending on the context, it might actually be more appropriate for you to not have the video option and to simply speak through audio. But what are you seeing with the folks that you're working with when it comes to that?
I'm seeing a lot of people who are uncomfortable having to show parts of their homes.
Yes.
It's like an invasion of your privacy. And why can't they just have their photo up? Why do people need to see them? Um, also, too, people aren't able to get out and get whatever grooming uh, experiences that you have from going to the barbershop, the beauty salon, the getting your face wax, whatever it is that you're doing. People are feeling some kind of way about that, and that's stressful. Um, and so, how do you handle that? How do you communicate to folks that, hey, you want to be present, but you don't want to be fully present, to
Yes.
them? How do you speak up for yourself? And again, that goes to your intention,
Yes.
and it also goes to you understanding that you have this birthright to mindfulness and self-care and that you're worthy of it. It's believing that you're worthy of it. It's a mindset.
Yes.
And once you get to that place, and that does take time. That's a journey.
Yes.
Once you get to that place, you're able to use your voice
Yes.
and speak whatever your intention is. And I understand that there's some folks that may not be able to escape the um, the video and showing their faces. That may be
Hmm.
mandatory. I do have a good friend who's an administrator and has made his staff check in with the video. Not long, but they have to check in and they have to be appropriately dressed.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a professional setting.
So
So,
interesting, because I, talking about like the grooming piece. So when we all went under like lockdown, if you will, in mid-March, I think it was, like a few of my colleagues and I decided, like, listen, we're not going to shave until this is done with, right? And so
mm,
I just couldn't handle it after so long. It was, and so I just had to go. But yeah, I mean, there's so many things that folks are just don't have access to feel
mm,
camera ready.
mhm,
I was participating this morning in speaking in like an emerging leadership like conversation, and one of the things that came to light was in touch with this being zoomed out, if you will, right? Like this idea
mm,
of it's already hard enough. It was hard enough previous to this to stay connected to a conversation in an in-person meeting of some sort, right? Especially if it's an
mhm,
hour-long meeting. So kind of going back to just being aware of topic at hand and keeping it short and to the point
mm,
if we're going to do these video conferences, which is needed in some instances, but just being mindful of other people's time and just how exhausting these can be on a day-to-day
mm,
basis for us as grown-ups, as well as we see this with the K through 12 kids now. I've got a couple of girls here in the house that are in Zoom after Zoom after Zoom calls with
Yes.
their peers and with their teachers, right? So can you
mhm.
speak a
Yes.
little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's that's something that I'm still working on because there are some things that you're not able to opt out. And what really helps for me and what I've been sharing with folks is to really make sure that you give yourself the space to take a bathroom break. Some people don't even feel that they could go to the bathroom. They're holding it. That's something that they have brought from pre-COVID actually. I've talked to a couple people. But giving yourself the space to do that and also to breathe. This is something that we often forget. Our breath is a source of self-care. I always say that the best way to start taking care of yourself is tapping into your breath. Why? Because when we take deep breaths, we bring a sense of calm to the body, believe it or not. We're letting the body know we're slowing down. So being able to slow yourself down. Also looking at how are you seated? Do you need some support? When you're seated? Is it better for you to stand if you can stand? Is there another part of your home where you feel cozy and comfy that you can go to have these kinds of conversations? Can you have your favorite beverage near you if it's okay to sip during the calls? All of those different things. And then also too speaking up and letting folks know really what's going on with you and telling them, hey, making some suggestions because I think a lot of us are really in reactionary mode. We're
Yes.
still reacting. And I
Yes.
know for myself this morning when I was walking in the park, I started to think about, yeah, you are in need of a huge reset because it's been 2 full months, you know,
Yes.
and you need a reset, baby, because you've been reacting,
Mm.
even being proactive, but I've been reacting in my proactivity, if you will.
Yes. And I think you touched on, both you and Carlos just touched on so much there. And I think part of it is expanding what we talked about in terms of time management to include energy management, right? So you
Mm,
might have a certain amount of time within which you think you can get whatever the task is at hand done.
mm,
But you have to ask yourself, not only do I have enough time, but where is my energy right now?
mm,
Do I need a break? Do I need food? You got to check in with yourself about those basics, right?
mm,
And get those things clear, right? So, um, you and I have talked about this acronym that I've remixed from the substance use space. HALT. Am I hungry? Am I angry? Am I uncomfortable? Am I lonely? Am I tired? Going through a series of check-ins like that can help you to pinpoint not only where your energy is at a particular point in time, but what you can do to address the energy gap. And so it's critically important. Just like we use our calendar to assess what is our bandwidth, how much time we have to be able to assess where is our energy at any given point in time. And to that point, one of the things that's missing, and Carlos, you and I talked about this in the last conversation about tech distraction, is we're missing the start stop rituals that we lost when we lost our commute time,
Mm.
right? So we had that time where we were on the metro, on the bus, or driving in the car. We stopped to get our coffee at Starbucks or wherever, right? But you had a space between when you left the house, right, and between when you got into the office, and that was in a for many folks subconscious, right, where they had an opportunity to essentially switch context,
Mm.
and your body and your mind and your emotions had an opportunity to make that switch with you. And even for folks that were working from home pre-COVID, you had the benefit in many cases of working with folks who were working in offices. And
Right.
so they had their commute time. And so you
Mm.
therefore could reclaim that time as well. But now that
Mm.
we're all working from home, we've lost that. We talked about Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers would come in and take off his coat and sweater and switch his shoes, and then he switched from being the guy that was outside to coming in to actually tell the story or teach the lesson that he was teaching that day. And so we need that the same way that Superman goes to the phone booth to turn into from Clark Kent to Superman, and then vice versa. We need our own version of putting on our cape or putting on our sweater at the start and end of our day to reclaim that commute space. But I'm curious for both of you actually, like, how are you aware of that, and what are you doing if you are to make sure you're putting those spaces in your days?
Well, I would say this. What you're really talking about is rituals.
Hmm.
Having rituals in your life, in your day. And so the ritual of how do you wake up? How do you start your day? How do you like
Yes.
to start your day? How do you like to end whatever work that you're doing? I
Yes.
like to end with incense. I like that incense, and that's how I know when first of all, I use this phone in a healthy way most days. I have alarms set so that on the hour of every hour from 10 to 5, and I know that sounds a little crazy, but this is something my mom and I started doing. We set the alarms so that we will move our body at some point. That's like
Mm.
the
Yes.
alarm. And when the alarm goes off for 4, that lets me know that it's an hour or 90 minutes left in whatever I'm doing, and the incense is coming out. Because when it goes off at 5, I'm lighting some incense. Now, to be truthful, I may continue to do some things sometimes because that's we have this flow and
Yep.
stuff goes down. But that is that incense for me. The incense, and also hydrating myself with
Yes.
water, with tea. Lately, it's been orange juice. I've been trying to really get enough vitamin C in me, from the vitamin C tablets that I take to my vitamin C. Uh, Having those rituals, and also picking too, you know, what what we do at the Thriving Mindful Academy is we have a whole recipe of themes that you can try, from Slow Down Sunday, Mindful Monday, Time Management Tuesday, Wellness Wednesday, Thankful Thursday, Fun Day Friday, and Savor Your Life Saturday, which is all about celebrating your small, medium, and big wins. You don't necessarily have to follow them in that order, but they were created to encourage folks to practice rituals of self care. That's what they are.
Yes.
To carve out some time for yourself. I know for me on Fun Day Fridays, what has become one of my favorites. And I have dance parties throughout the week, but I really do get down to WHUR, which is Howard University Radio 96.3 FM, and I give shout outs and stuff. I get down at 3 o'clock. I turn that stuff, I turn it on, and I am partying because it is
Yes.
Fun Day Friday.
Yeah.
What are
So
yours?
I want us to shift the conversation to talk about one of your newest initiatives a little bit, but I want to ask Carlos, is there anything else you wanted to touch on this topic before we make that shift?
No, I mean, I think this is, thank you, Ananda, for like expanding on the topic itself, and just again, sort of, this is amazing how you were able to kind of like pull in even some of the topics that we've been sharing on the past couple of weeks. I'm still sort of like thinking through this idea of reclaiming my commute time.
Mm.
Never in my life would I have imagined that dreading so much traffic driving into downtown LA that I would want to reclaim that for the purposes of my own sanity. Yeah.
Well, you can create that intention to create your own traffic jam in your house on the way to your office, so
Yep.
you can reclaim that commute time. Um, so let's talk about this new initiative, new program you have. So I saw Kamaria mentioning how powerful this was. Can you tell us what she's talking about? Tell us the name of the program and tell us what it's all about.
So you're talking about the Thriving Mindfully Academy or the Digital Wellness Month initiative.
No,
Oh, the
I think
Thriving
she's talking about
Mind.
the academy. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Thriving Mindfully Academy. Thanks, Kamaria, one of my Sigma Gamma Rho sorority sisters. Um, so the Thriving Mindfully Academy is really a an offshoot of this practice, this approach that I use in my own life that I've been using for the last 20 something years. You know how you do things and you don't really realize what you're calling it, you're just living it, and it
Yes.
evolves over time. And around 2016, the names started to come. The process was there, the framework was there. And so, Thriving Mindfully is a heart centered approach to being the real you. And it is rooted in 5 core commitments: slow your living, sustain your living, which is the practices. Slow your living is being aware of your birthrights of mindfulness and self-care, just the awareness that you have them. And then sustain your living is about making that awareness, that birthright, real through actual practices, through rituals that we've been talking about. And then it is share your living,
Hmm.
looking at how you are living your life with folks,
Yes.
living your life in terms of the folks that are loved ones, people that you work with in your career, your business, folks that you serve with in your community. And then it is serve through your living. And that's where we talk about the service aspect of it. I am a
Yes.
big believer in that we're not here just to be. We're here to share our gifts.
Yes.
And we have a motto in our sorority, greater service, greater progress, from Sigma
Mm.
Gamma Rho, that really has shaped who I am. I grew up in it. My mother's a member, my great grandmother was a member. And that and being raised Catholic really shaped my commitment to service. So it's using your gifts to serve others and doing it in a way that is intentional, it's mindful, and impactful. And then the last core commitment is savor your living. It's about celebrating your life and doing it in
Yes.
a way that many of us don't do.
Yes.
That is one thing that I have found in the work that I do, is that we're so busy living. And this opportunity that we have here with COVID-19 of us slowing down is giving us, for those who are open to it, because I'm a big believer in you don't have to do anything in this period of time except be. But if you
Yeah.
feel called to do more, I encourage you to look at where have you been winning in your life? The small, the medium, and the big wins, and then finding small ways to celebrate yourself. We
Yes.
don't do that enough. And I have found that as a recovering high achiever who checked boxes and just acquired things and acquired degrees, all good because it got me to who I am right now. I count it all as good. But there wasn't a whole lot of celebration.
Mm,
Yeah, I went to the party. Yeah, I might have had a drink. Yeah, I went on a trip. But I mean, internally, did I really celebrate it? And that's what savor your living is. It's being mindful about, hey, where am I winning? Because I find that even in the midst of all of this, there are places where we're winning, whether we're reconnecting with family and friends, whether we're discovering that, hey, we enjoy spinach and oatmeal and avocados for breakfast. Who knew? That's me. To discovering new things that you like to read or new music. My nephew Preston is exposing me to some new books that we're about to read for the summer. So there's all kinds of wins. We just have to slow down and look and see.
Yes. So you've given us a framework for that guides the academy. So can you tell us in practical terms, like someone signs up for it, how do
Mhm.
they participate? Like what's the benefit? Like why would someone sign up? Tell us a little bit about that.
So you want to sign up because you want to invest in yourself and take better care of yourself. If you're struggling, if you're stressed out, if you're looking for a way to uh, practice self care, if you want to learn how to meditate, sign up. We've got the Mindful Monday meditation classes that are on Mondays throughout the rest of this month. We have an online retreat on Memorial Day. It's a spring reset retreat. We also have the digital wellness webinar on May 27th that you can take advantage of. And then each month we've been offering events. In addition to that, there are tons of resources from over 100 podcasts on mindfulness, meditation, self care, and wellness that you can access through the Thriving Mindfully podcast.
Yes.
There are videos with short tips, everything that I've been sharing. It's really in the academy. And also, too, if you want to work one on one with me in a coaching relationship, there's an opportunity for you to fill out a client survey and we can have a free consultation. And if you have an organization, a company, or community that would like to have a training or have me come talk virtually, I'm available for all of that. But it really is to invest in your own well being, to ensure that you have this health insurance plan in your life. That's what I like to call it. It's one of the
Mm,
best ways to to take care of yourself, to
yes.
learn right now what do you need? And everybody needs different things. Sometimes it's resting. Maybe you need
Yes.
to learn how to nap. So that's what it's for.
Well, I love that, the idea of creating your own health insurance plan.
Mm.
So, before we talk about upcoming things and how people can stay connected, I'm wondering if you'd be willing to lead us in a short practice. You mentioned earlier in the conversation about the importance of the breath and how you encourage people to make the breath their BFF, and um, we talked about at the beginning in terms of how people get into a space of being digitally well.
Mm.
You talked about intention, but you also talked about assessing how you're showing up and
Mm.
how you want to show up, and part of that was tied to the breath, right?
Sure. All
So
right.
tell us about that, and what would you like to guide us through in the few moments we have left?
So, what I'd like to guide us through is my signature exercise called Make Your Breath Your BFF. And what that is hopefully going to do for you is have you tap into what the breath feels like right now in your body, noticing how it feels, noticing how the body feels. We're going to do a mini body scan after we look at the breath. And then you'll have an opportunity to notice where you're feeling certain things. You're not trying to fix it, you're just noticing it. And you'll also have an opportunity to notice when you lose focus from the present moment, recognizing that when you lose focus is not the time to judge yourself. It's not the time to be mad. It's a time to really smile, breathe in and out. You're smiling because you're giving yourself this opportunity to practice your birthright of mindfulness and self care. So, with that, does that give you enough, Miko?
It does. So we're ready
Okay.
for a short practice
All
to
right.
All
to
right.
close us out, and then
I don't know if
we'll.
you noticed, I even started sitting up myself just to
All
feel
right.
it even
All right.
Yes.
more.
So, I'm one of those yoga meditation teachers that really likes to switch things up. So, whatever way your body is feeling, I'm going to give some invitations. You honor it. So, I just came to the edge of my chair. If you're seated and you want to come to the edge of your chair so your feet are flat on the floor, if that's possible, go ahead. If the body is not allowing you to do that for whatever reason, that's okay. Just know, do you, boo. That's what I like to tell folks. Now, if you want to lay down, that's also a great option. Allow your body to rest gently on the surface, whether it's the bed, the floor, the yoga mat, the rug, the carpet. If you want to try this standing, which is a great option, go ahead and stand and just do a quick scan from your feet all the way up to the crown of your head to notice how you feel. Do you feel rooted in your stance? And if you don't, maybe playing around with the space in between your legs so that you do feel grounded. And then for those that are standing and seated, bringing the shoulders all the way up to your ears and rolling them back one time. And then bringing them up again to the ears and rolling them forward. And then for all of us, taking a moment to check in with the hands, opening and closing them. If we've been online or cooking or dealing with children or writing, you may need to stretch the hands. So opening and closing your hands, stretching, resting them on or near your body when you're done. And then inviting you to close your eyes if that feels comfortable. If you want to keep the eyes open, that's fine. Just lower your gaze slightly. And then one more check in, noticing the face. If you feel any tightness or tension, it's okay if you don't feel anything. But if you feel called to bring some movement to your face, opening and closing the mouth a few times, nice and wide. And then settling in with a soft smile, if that works for you. Noticing any sounds from where you're located, either inside or outside. Becoming aware of any sensations in your body. And then shifting your awareness to any thoughts in the mind, remembering that you're just observing the thoughts. You're not trying to silence them or push them away. And then joining me in taking 3 big breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth, and I'll guide us. So big breath in through the nose, and then big breath out with an audible sigh. Taking another big breath in, and then out through the mouth. One more big breath in through the nose. And then out through the mouth. Tuning into how the breath feels as it enters and exits your body at its normal pace, its normal rhythm. And then bringing your awareness to your feet, your lower legs and knees. And then shifting your awareness to your thighs, your hips, and your buttocks. And then paying attention to the belly, the chest, the back. Noticing the shoulders, the hands, the arms. And then becoming aware of the neck, the front and the back of the head, the face. And then taking one more deep breath in and then out. Opening up your eyes, bringing some movement to your body, maybe beginning with wiggling your feet, your toes on your feet, wiggling the fingers, stretching the feet and the hands, the arms, the legs, the upper body, moving gently. So, hopefully you were able to connect with your breath and your body in a
Yes.
very short amount of time.
Yes. Thank you for that. That was beautiful. Um, so in about 10 seconds, can you tell us how people can reach you and find out more?
So, folks can reach me at anandaleek.com/academy. That's a Thriving Mindfully Academy. You can follow me on social media at Ananda Lake. Thank you.
All right. Awesome. All right, Carlos, anything else before we wrap things up?
No, Ananda, thank you so much for your time today. Such an engaging conversation. What an amazing way to ground us through this breathing exercise as well. Kamaria here is saying, great show. Thank you very much as well. From her perspective, we had a pretty good number of people that tuned in today. So again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank
Yes.
you. It was a
Thank you
pleasure.
both.
Thank you.
And looking forward to next week. And so stay tuned in the comments for the replay if you're not able to catch us as we're doing this live. And I look forward to seeing you on next Tuesday for Mindful Techie Tuesday. Thank you.